Alrighty. All right. Good evening. Welcome to Our Two Cents. I am your host, Tom Sellers. As you all know, my partner in crime is Frank Hostka, who is, say it with me now, because we've seen this several times this year. That's right. He is on vacation. Good for him. He and Christina are out and having a good time. He will be joining us again next week. Speaking of last week, I had to run a replay last week, and for that, I apologize. The honest answer is things were so busy here in my office, I knew that I could not put a proper show together. So I thought I would show one of my favorites from one of our past episodes. So a couple of things to bring you up to speed on here real quick. Let me get this thing out of my way. It's annoying. Um, we have just been absolutely insane busy here, and some of you have asked me questions, and some of you who are tuning in tonight may be seeing this for the first time. My number is right under the trailer here, so give me a call at tsellers.com. Also, something new we're bringing to the show. We're going to do this every single week. Somebody out there is going to go home with a smartwatch. That's a big thing. Everybody's got one these days. They measure your steps and calories and heart rate, all these kinds of cool things. Everybody I know's got one. I don't have one. I guess I'm just not that smart. However, I have one. There will be a question that I pose to the viewers when we are done. And the correct answer will take that thing home. So without further ado, let's move on. This is an interview, quite frankly, I've looked forward to for a little bit. I am bringing somebody in today who is going to have, first off, has a terrific story. Many of you out there may have experienced this. But the cool part of the story is what she's done since. And she's going to talk to us a lot about what she does, the results she's getting. I mean, this is going to be a great show. I invite you to take notes. It's going to be that good. So without further ado, let me bring in my friend and soon to be your friend, Lori Brown. And there she is. Lori, how are you?
Hey, Tom, I'm great. How are you?
Phenomenal. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
So you warned me there might be some activity behind you with the pup, and that's okay. We get some of that back here earlier when we were talking. You saw my cat trying to get a cameo in. So anyway, it's great to have you on the show. So let's just go ahead and get started. I kind of know this story, but I'd sure love for you to tell it in your words. For those that are listening and that will listen to this later on, kind of tell us where you came from.
Well, do you want the long version or the short version?
Whichever one
First
you
of
want
all, thank you so much for having me on tonight, Tom, and I'm just honored and blessed beyond belief.
Oh no, the honor is ours.
Thank you. I grew up in small town Midwest Ohio and was in band and choir. My parents were educators. My dad was a voice major. He had a beautiful voice, and so that kind of got me in the music thing. So I love music.
Sure.
And went away to college. Never finished college. Got married. Had a kid. Had a divorce. Um, you know how that goes.
Sure.
Met the love of my life. We've been married over 30 years.
Well, that is great. Congratulations. He's a lucky man.
Yep, he is. And we had 3 kids. I had 3 babies the first 3 years we were married, and I already had one. So,
okay.
You know, after that, anything I did, I was kind of like, well, if I can survive that, I can do anything.
There you go.
And so I kind of, carried that forward. And I worked, different kinds of jobs. I served cocktails. I was a waitress. I sold rainbow vacuum cleaners. I sold vinyl phone book covers. had a few businesses. Actually met my husband working in a restaurant. So we worked together there. We had a couple businesses together, worked at a couple of other places together. So it's kind of interesting that if you know, find that person, it's really beneficial to kind of partner up with someone
Absolutely.
as long
Absolutely.
as long as you can trust them, right?
Right.
Because you always hear about business partners, you know, they start a business and then all of a sudden, you know, there's some sort of difference. And like you, I mean, if you get in an argument with your husband, who's your business partner, you got to make up sometimes. So it's kind of it's kind of always worked for us.
Sure.
And so, you know, after kind of really struggling, I mean, God, I rolled pennies to buy milk for my kids. I was busted, broken, disgusted, as someone
Sure.
we know likes
Right.
to say, and
Yes, he does.
drove a $400 car, and so I actually had the opportunity to start in the Yellow Pages with AT&T. It was SBC at the time. You know how
Sure.
telecoms
Oh, yeah.
keep
I
changing
remember
their
those
name,
days.
right? And interestingly, I started there, and my husband actually came along about 6 months after I did. So we even worked together at AT&T.
Okay.
And Tom, I'll tell you that I just took off. I was so successful. Not at first.
Right.
You know, any large sales organization is going to have sales objectives. And the first, we call it working a canvas or a book. The first book I worked, I bombed it. I was like at minus 25. I felt like I was this tall.
We've all been there.
And we, you know, and you know, other businesses that we've had failed. I mean, you know, you do what you do, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Well, when I was in Yellow Pages, when I bombed my first book, I decided never again.
Right.
And so I made a decision, and it is a decision, and it is a commitment, whether you're working for a company or a corporation, or whether you're working for yourself, it still applies. Sometimes you're going to fail.
Right.
The difference is, are you going to get back up, brush the dirt off your sandals,
Right.
and make a decision to keep persisting no matter what.
Right.
And so I kind of, you know, caught that, and it was Katie bar the door from there. I was the best sales rep they had. I won CEO trips multiple consecutive years over and over, and got promoted to where I was an internet sales manager, and then what they called a continuation trainer. So I ended up being a sales training manager.
Right.
So I trained on products, on systems, on processes,
Right.
on all the tech stuff, as well as giving sales presentations. And sometimes I would accompany sales reps on their sales calls, you know, if it was a new product or something where they needed help.
Right.
And,
Okay.
you know, I loved that job 17 years. I had that job, and then kind of what happened, kind of what happened was the AT&T had sold off their Yellow Pages. That was bought by another, formed a new company, and then that new company was bought by another publisher, and then they started cutting, and after 17 years, I got cut.
Okay.
And that, to be cut, to be let go, like fired, I guess,
right.
through no fault of my own.
Yep.
You know, you got to understand in the corporate world, the entity has to do what it must do to survive.
Right.
So it's not about individuals. And I mean, and for anyone listening who has been let go like that, it's, sometimes it's not your fault.
Right.
You just got to understand that that corporation, that company has to do what it has to do to survive.
Right.
And sometimes you pay the cost of that. So at that point, I decided, you know what, at my age, I know I look so young,
I was
but
going to say your age, what, 30, 35?
right. For me to think about starting all over with another company from the ground, you know, and out beating the pavement and, you know, trying to work my way up another ladder that I just spent 17 years working my way up this ladder.
Sure.
I decided never again will I be beholden to that corporation or that company that has to do. I understand you got to do what you have to do, corporation, to survive, but I'm not going to be at the mercy of what you got to do to survive, because that doesn't help me survive.
Right.
And so that's when I decided, and it's kind of scary, when you've been having your paychecks just deposited in your bank account year after year after year. I'm gonna go out on my own.
Right.
I'm gonna, cause you know, back in the day I had other businesses that failed, but I just decided I'm just not gonna put myself at their mercy.
Right.
So sink or swim. I'm writing my future.
Sure.
And I have goals of. Go ahead.
I want to jump in here real quick to kind of underscore a couple of things that you said. One of the things you said was, you know, being let go, you know, it wasn't personal. It was what business have to do, and we all understand that on the surface and logically. But I'm also willing to say it doesn't make it sting any less.
No, it
And
doesn't.
you know, I had a similar thing happen, and I kind of took the same tact as like, you know what? Never again is anybody going to hold a paycheck over my damn head. And you're right, it is scary. You know, in kind of going down the same path here, based on your experience and your level of success, I'm sure you had to go out into this scary new world knowing that you have skills, right? I can sell,
Mm-hmm.
I can train, but it's still a scary world because now I got to kill what I eat. And that's the only food
Right.
there's going to be. So tell me how that worked into your mindset moving past the corporate. I don't want to use the word disappointment because you had great years doing it, but being suddenly on your own income wise.
Ooh. that's that's a good one. I think, like I said, you just have to make a decision and commit to it,
Right.
and then persist with it,
Mm-hmm.
and persist without exception. And what that means is, and that's kind of been my all through my sales career and into entrepreneurship, is
Right.
that you have to commit to persisting without exception. And what that means is you set a goal, you set an objective, you set even a stretch objective, right?
Right.
Which is over what you have to have or what you'd like to have. You set it higher than that,
Right.
and you just do whatever it has to do, whatever you have to do to get there.
Okay.
And don't quit until you get there. It's, you know, you can't get to 80% or 90% and then, oh, I almost made it.
Right.
You,
It'll be a
you'll
great story.
never achieve, right, you'll never achieve your full potential.
Right.
And your goals unless you are persistent. Now, it's it's a different world working for yourself because
Mhm.
you set your own hours.
Right.
And especially if you're working from home,
Right.
you've got to have that self discipline and the motivation and again the persistence
Right.
to and just to work through what you've got to get accomplished on a daily basis.
Right.
It's and I'll say this too. You need to be connected even working from home and kind of in this environment that we're in here now, but I
Right.
mean that was before the pandemic, now it's
Right.
even more so. You have got to connect with like-minded people, with mentors, um, with people you know are gonna have your back or lift, you know, rejoice when you rejoice and kind of lift you up when when you fall down and kind of be there for you and kind of back to my husband of 30 years. Well,
Mhm.
he's my first
Sure.
one. That building you see behind me is his guitar studio, and he teaches guitar lessons out of there. That's what
Very
he does.
nice.
I had to marry a musician, right?
Right. Right.
um, and but you've got to connect.
Right.
You've got to join groups. Come to forums like R2 Cents, or there's tons and tons of groups and podcasts that you can be involved in, and make those connections with people.
Right.
So that because here's what happens: if you don't, it's almost a phenomenon. You cannot help it, and you don't even see it coming. You get isolated.
Right.
Um, you start feeling like you're on a deserted island,
Yep.
and that little devil on your left shoulder will start whispering in your ear.
Yep.
What do you think and those things get in your head, and it's destructive. It's
Sure.
counterproductive to what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
um, so I cannot stress enough that you've got to get involved with some other people that are like-minded like you, and just feed. There's a saying: if two dogs are fighting, I got one on my left shoulder and one on my right shoulder.
Right.
If two dogs are going to fight, which one wins the
Right.
fight?
Right.
The dog you feed, right? So
Exactly.
you got to feed the good one and
Right.
starve the bad one.
Right.
Does
And
that
I
make
think,
sense?
yeah, it does. And I think, at least from my experience, um, one of the reasons I actually have a couple of coaches.
I
And when I
can't
use
hear
the
you,
word
Tom.
coach, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Hello? Laura, are you there? Hello. Okay, I'm not sure if Lori can hear me. Let me send her a little note. Um, so anyway, where I was going with that is okay. The reason I have coaches is because some of the things that we do here are relatively technical, and many times we're trying to learn these things sometimes on our own, and what ends up happening is we may end up making the same mistake over and over again, and not see it because we are in the middle of the storm. Uh, Let me see if I can find Lori here. Can you hear me now, Lori? Oh boy. I'm going to have her log in. I can hear you. Can you hear me? All right, we're going to try to get Lori back here. In the meantime, we're going to go to our first commercial break, and we will be back here shortly. Hi, this is Coach Papa. Let me ask you a question. Do you sometimes feel overwhelmed or run down? Feel as if you're sometimes just going through the motions? I have some good news. I can show you how to overcome these thoughts and feelings literally in seconds. Call me, Coach Papa, at 815-403-8870 and ask me about my reboot program. Can you hear us now? Lori? Hello? All right. Folks, we are having some technical issues that I'm not sure of the answer. Hang with me 1 second. All right, dead airspace. That's the worst thing that we can be doing right now. All right, folks, I am sorry about this. I'm not sure what the issue is. I have a pretty good idea, and it does not look like something that I can fix quickly. Bear with me just a second. What we were talking about is sometimes it takes having a coach. It definitely takes being involved with people that are like-minded. Um, Send a quick text upstairs. Check our. All right. It definitely takes being involved with people that are like-minded. It is a huge move when you go from being a corporate world or an employee world of any kind and going out on your own. So with that being said, you got a lot of things that a lot of moving parts. You've got the business that you're trying to put together. You've got your own mind, which will tell you stories. It'll tell you you're doing the wrong thing. It'll tell you go out and get a real job. How many times have we heard that? Lori, do I have you back yet? I do not have Lori back yet. All right. I'm going to try one other thing here. And how about now? Can you hear us now, Lori? No. All right. We may end up here rescheduling this because it's not much of an interview if you're just hearing me talk. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this short for now. We're going to go off the air. I may try to put this back together for tomorrow night. If that's assuming I can get Lori if she's available. So for now, I'm Tom with our 2 cents. Again, apologizing for technical issues. We will try to get those resolved and rerun this show tomorrow at 7. Please look for an announcement on this page tomorrow.